I think the most difficult part is the bootstrapping part. The most key important thing is we need to bring revenue in. I'm all engineering trained, right? Not really sales trained. So going out to get sales and then closing sales was actually one of the biggest challenges for me. But still keep going on.
The first 2 years was the toughest. There was no team. There was just me and myself and maybe some freelancers. And when you are left with the discomfort of being in the wild, you start to feel lost. And because for the longest time, there is no safety net. There was nothing. It's just all you, right? It's like in the wilderness, and for a wild animal, whether they survive or not, depends on how lucky they are to hunt for next meal. And there's also the time where I listened to a lot of podcasts, and it helped give me the insights. And there are many people, greater people than myself, who went through this journey from zero to hero. They fought through, they survived, they persisted because they believe there's a better way forward rather than going back to employment.
Welcome to another episode of the TFC Business Show. I am your occasional host, Judson. Today, Reggie is supposed to appear, but he's stuck outside with some very big important person. He might appear from the curtain behind later, but I don't know. But as with anything else in TFC, we always pivot when required. So I am here solo today with two of my very important people in my professional network, because in my daytime, I deal with startups in Singapore. And today we have Cedric Lee and Ee Ting, who are the co-founders of Connecting DNA. Welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Justin. Hi, everyone. My name is Cedric Lee from Connecting DNA. So I'm the CEO and the founder of Connecting DNA.
Hi everyone, I'm Ee Ting. My surname is Choo. I'm also the co-founder of Connecting DNA.
But for the start, right, for people who don't know what Connecting DNA is, maybe Cedric, can you introduce, do a blurb, a summary, a pitch, a fire pitch of what Connecting DNA is?
So Connecting DNA, we are a for-impact, for-profit organization that hopes to help people live longer and live healthier and happier using their genes and holistic wellness solutions.
It sounds like impact for profit is like a new buzzword in the local entrepreneurship scene. The other day, I just spoke to another founder who shared with me more about, the difference between social enterprise and for-profit enterprise and non-for-profit. So many different terms. Could you please break it down a little bit? What is impact for profit?
To be really honest, right, I think these days, many people do startups for a reason. Of course, some do it for the money, but some do it more for a social good, right, aka impact. So when we started Connecting DNA, we really started with a mission to want to help people become better versions of themselves through understanding of their genetics. So that itself is actually creating an impact to society beyond just the ROI.
The actual product that you're selling is a platform, if I'm not wrong. It's literally like an e-commerce platform, getting different wellness, different wellness providers onto the platform, right? And so where is this impact? What is this gap that you're trying to fill in?
So what we're trying to do, in a sense, is to become like the TripAdvisor of health and wellness, where we try to unify the whole industry coming together. So what we'll do in terms of the impact side, first of all, we allow consumers to come in and find solutions that is more trusted, was more curated. Secondly, we also creating impact by allowing vendors now to be more credible and be more discoverable by society, so then their solutions can be easily gone to the people who really needs their health and wellness solutions.
I'm picking up quality. I'm picking up trustability is what you're trying to get at with your startup. And so, but before we go into the technicalities and the specifics of it, right, I'm very interested in each of your journey. Right, there's so many things to do in this world. Why didn't you become a podcaster like me? Right, why you chose to get into wellness? Because both of you have an illustrious corporate career. Why do you choose to pivot and decide to be an entrepreneur at this specific time in your life? Because typically entrepreneurship takes up a lot of energy, and seriously, we all three of us are middle aged already. So it's not I wouldn't say it's a time. I wouldn't say energy or youth is on our side in terms of striking it out on our own. But so then what was the trigger point? Maybe we start with Ee Ting first. What would you do in the past? And then how come you joined Cedric on this crazy adventure?
I started and graduated as a chemical engineer. Then after that, I was in the high-tech industry. Then after that, I was in the DNA industry for all 15 years. Then after that, I went on, actually headhunted to join this DNA industry. So then I was with them for 15 years. Then through the 15 years, right, I realized that actually using your DNA, you can actually get so early awareness about your health, your talent, so on and so forth. Then one day in a business networking, I met Cedric. Then I saw, connecting DNA seems like what I've always wanted to do, which is to bring trusted partners to the population, where they can find wellness solution provider very easily, like nutritionists, fitness coaches, and all that. So then I thought about it, not bad. So we worked together. Starting, I haven't joined as a co-founder, we just worked together. Then the more I work together with him, right, the more I know that, actually this mission, right, has been something that is missing in my life because my mom passed away when I was really, really young. So then I already knew that there's this empty gap in me that I wanted to be able to find wellness solutions and to help more people achieve their health way earlier in life.
So it was like you believe that it's like fortune reading from a scientific method point of view, whereby our DNA might have a lot of secrets that we need to unlock, and once you can unlock that, you can literally leverage it and have a very fulfilling life. So that's what you
Yes, for sure.
believe in different forms along your career.
Because DNA really is our blueprint. It's just about understanding it better and then taking actions. Yeah, in fact, through my whole time with Connecting DNA, I met so many clients, heard so many stories. Yeah, it truly cements the belief that once we know where our starting point is, our blueprint, we are definitely able to manage our health, design our life, and therefore our whole family will be happier.
Cedric, was it also a fortune reading thing for you?
So for me, actually looking back, I felt that Connecting DNA is kind of like a accumulation of my entire life experience so far. So for most people who don't know me, I'm an only child. So like eating, I lost my mom, but I lost my mom when I was 22 years old. So now I'm in my mid-40s. So what happened is that because I lost my mom to cancer very early on, she didn't respond very well to the conventional treatments medically, right? So then I've always believed that there are better cures out there. Right, that's why I entered the healthcare industry when I was very young. So I've done pharmaceuticals, I've done medical devices, I've done surgicals, X-rays. Then my last role was in Samsung, doing health technologies. Right, but even then, I found that there wasn't really that solution that I'm looking for, and at the same time, at that point in time, I also was stricken with very bad eczema outbreak. Right, so I had eczema for a long time in my life, and it was only until I did a DNA test and I found out that I'm sensitive to gluten. But I was asking myself, but I love noodles, I love bread, which all has gluten. Then why am I getting it? So then the reality is that I realized I had this condition in my later years called leaky gut. So, and because I had leaky gut, so what happened was that the gluten, the food I eat, actually entered into my bloodstream through the porous gut membrane. So then it created a lot of inflammation. So inflammation leads to eczema. Then I thought, hey, this is something that actually the world should know, more people should know about. Because I also know a lot of people that are suffering from a lot of chronic illnesses. They don't know what's the root cause, and they are just taking a lot of treatments just to suppress it, right? And at the same time, we also found out that the wellness industry, is very fragmented. So we thought that if we can bring precision solutioning like through genetics, like what Ee Ting said, as well as unifying the whole wellness industry, then we may be able to create something that really help a lot more people. So that's where the impact comes in. And again, also like what Ee Ting mentioned about the mom, she's doing it because her mom's wish. For me, in a way, it's also something similar. Throughout when I was young, I was very playful. So I never lived up to her expectations. So she was heartbroken many times. So even at her deathbed, she was saying that, hey, I still believe in you. You must do well without me. And I made a promise to say that, yes, I will do you proud. So ever since then, in all my entire journey, even to this point of Connecting DNA, where everything is coming together, is just to honor that promise I made to her.
Right. So if I were to summarize it, accurately, the solution that you're trying to go for is that millions and millions of people are being plagued by certain types of genes in their body. I think we all have little ticks in our body, right? That is always caused by whatever gene there is. And like what you said, the industry is very fragmented and therefore you're trying to shortcut it. Rather than having to spend so much time trying to find the right provider, you are trying to bring people with these many different kind of diverse kind of ailments to the right kind of people via a very informed pathway of truly understanding what your genetic makeup is. And therefore, you don't have to spend time thinking, guessing, is it this one, is it that one? No, because you have gene A, B, C, D, and therefore that causes it. And therefore, this is the wellness provider that you should go to. That is the pathway?
Actually, a lot of things is about early awareness. We have many cases. Take, for example, recently one case about a lady. Actually, her DNA results already show a high chance of getting kidney stones. But she thought that she led a very healthy life. And then she drinks sufficient water, so shouldn't be a problem. But then one day, right, she realized that she has very, very bad back pain. Yeah, then after scanning, realized it's kidney stones. Then after that, when we check back again, actually the DNA results already say high risk of kidney stones. So I mean, if all these things, right, are already like telltale signs, it's a matter of do we want to like take that information and then do something to our life. Like make sure that we drink one whole bottle every day, make sure we go to toilet how many days. I mean, these kind of things are lifestyles that we can build in to ensure that we achieve our health.
When did connecting DNA start?
It started in 17th of August, 2021. It's about 4 years ago.
So that's during the pandemic?
Slightly after the pandemic.
Both of you had great careers, at least from the corporate world, and yet you chose to start your business in the middle of a pandemic lockdown, even though I think our vaccine back then was the first boost. We haven't had the booster yet, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe we have, I forgot already. But still during a very difficult time, right? What was it? Ee Ting, just now you mentioned you don't know. You don't know why you quit your job and everything. But can I extract it a little bit from you? If you were going to think back, maybe 4 years back, what was this thing? Was it a switch? Was it a gene? Was it entrepreneurship gene that made you want to had enough of my corporate life, I don't care whether pandemic or not, I just want to be my own boss.
Maybe it's midlife crisis. Looking back, I mean, yes, I've achieved a lot of things I want to achieve, but at the same time, there are things that I felt empty. And we all should realize that when we come to Earth, we, or whatever religion you're from, we only have one life, we only have one body. Right. And what we do in this lifetime, I think it matters a lot. Right. So some people who are religious will say that, whatever you do in this lifetime, when you pass on, you go to heaven, you meet your other self, you must not have any regrets. So that's what, in a way, that's actually what what thought I had when I decided to start connecting DNA. Right. So it's not so much as just for the money. Money is important, right? But it's also really what's the legacy we want to leave for ourselves, for our children, and for society.
Yeah, for me, I think what made me want to quit, of course, there's logical reasons like my daughter, primary 1 and all that. But I think it's more towards, now that I reflect back, right, it's really because my mom is a very successful business person. Then maybe from young, I felt that, I've achieved things in my career in corporate. Now I want to do something that, like the path that she took. Yeah, so then I decided to quit with not really very business trained. Yeah, all my knowledge is all in engineering and all that. So I just came out Yeah. So yeah, it was a interesting path. Yeah, that I came along the way. Then thankfully things are getting much better already.
There are different phases of setting up a business. The first phase is of course the 0 to 0.5, suddenly then 0.5 to 1, then to 2 to 3 to 4. 4 years later, right? Which part of setting up connecting DNA was the part that was the most difficult and the most with the highest percentage of why am I doing this? Was it the gathering the team together phase? Or was it the gathering the team together but don't know whether they work out or they're fighting with each other, that kind? Or was it I spent so much time building this thing and yet it doesn't work?
The first 2 years was the toughest. And it was also when Ee Ting hasn't joined, right? So when I was alone, there was no team. There was just me and myself and maybe some freelancers. right? And when you are left with the discomfort of being in the wild, okay, without the comfort of having a fixed meal every single AK salary, right, every single month, right, you start to feel there's a transition. You start to feel lost. And because for the longest time, there is no safety net. There was nothing. It's just all you, right? It's like in the wilderness, and for a wild animal, whether they survive or not, depends on how lucky they are to hunt for next meal, right? So that's very much like connecting DNA. It's a big vision. I don't know how it's going to work out. I just know where we want to keep going, right? So there's, of course, we have done a lot of things. I've done a lot of things that in early days just to survive, to keep pushing through. And my motto at that point of time is just two things now. Don't die, keep moving, right? And there's also the time where I listen to a lot of podcasts on YouTube, right? Which I believe hopefully this podcast will also inspire some young entrepreneurs out there.
We have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs listening to us. Yes.
Yeah. And it's when then after listening to so I almost gave up, to be honest, on the second year mark when my personal savings ran out because I was financing the whole company. When I listened to all these podcasts and it helped give me the insights. And there are many people, greater people than myself, who went through this journey from zero to hero. The beginning was the toughest. But they fought through, they survived, they persisted because they believe there's a better way forward rather than going back to employment. So I carved, and so I changed my mindset. So because of that, I pushed through. Then I met you, in the ecosystem,
yeah.
right? And we were selected by. Then I met Choo Ee Ting. Then was selected by the Microsoft and Block 71 program, and then the rest is history.
So for me, I think the most difficult part is the bootstrapping part, the initial part when I first joined Cedric, right? The most key important thing is we need to bring revenue in. But I'm all engineering trained, right? Not really sales trained. So going out to get sales and then closing sales was actually one of the biggest challenges for me. But still keep going on. So at that time, my mindset was like I was rock climbing, but I actually don't have any safety harness. So we just have to keep going on. Yeah, and then do what we believe very strongly, which is the mission that we want. Yet, in sales, I hold very tightly in integrity that whatever we sell has to benefit the person before I close the deal. So that's where I put in a lot of effort, talk to the people, giving them whatever the best that we could give. Yeah, so we closed when we survived around. And yeah, this is where we are at now.
So you are doing BD, right? You're mainly involved in the BD side of things and sales, right? And operations.
So now as a I think startup founder, we switch around. So I did commercial, then now I'm doing ops. Yeah, so next step we'll just keep seeing.
So then I'm sure as you approach the different wellness providers, their first question is, why do I need you? Right? I can list anywhere else, or I can just simply buy Facebook ads and drive to my website. Why do I need you? In your 4 years already, right, you must have developed your own personal formula of convincing people, the art of convincing, the art of negotiation, such that you will make this skeptic wellness provider choose you. Could you share a little bit of that formula of how you onboard people, how you convince them that, yes, you need me. I know you have your website, but you need me. How do you convince them?
Okay, so a lot of things, right? He's like the sales director in his job. Okay, so a lot of things I learned along the way. At the end of the day, I think it boils down to how can we create a win-win need for both sides. Yeah, then we discuss and then we come to a middle ground.
So in general, what do these wellness providers, what do they want to win?
They want to get business. Everybody wants to get business. So they want to get business, but it's just the route, how they get it and who they can partner with to get to the end state that they want. At the same time, we also have the same end state. We want to bring curated, trusted partners onto our platform so that when client comes along, right, it's just a click of a button and you search and get. You think of like Property Guru, you think of TripAdvisor, you can find trusted partners on there. So same thing in the wellness industry, what we are building is we tell people, come to Connecting DNA, type a few keywords, you'll find curated, trusted partner, achieve your goals in a safer, easier method.
So it's literally it's like endorsed by Connecting DNA.
Well, that's a long-term vision, but maybe just to add on to what Ee Ting has said, Justin. So at the end of the day, I think what we really want to bring to the market and to the wellness partners, or rather vendors, is we want to help them boost their visibility, online credibility, and online profitability. Because we come to realize in these all 4 years, right, there are a lot of very good wellness solutions out there. They are mainly thriving through word of mouth. But if you ask them to be found online, even though they like pay for Facebook ads, they do like TikTok, but it's still it doesn't give the sense of, it's visible, but it doesn't give the sense of credibility. So, and what we've done is that because we are a science-backed platform, because we know we are endorsing genetics, and at the same time, the way we curate and the way we display our vendor listings is very different from a lot of other platforms out there. So we focus a lot on content. So consumers, when they see value in what they're buying. So as a marketplace, yes, we give people visibility when they come, right? These vendors visibility when consumers come, but we also give them the credibility so they know every solution on our platform is certified, is curated, and the write-up is done in a way where consumers see the value, and that's why they're willing to pay $150 for a gym session, for example. And when that happens, that's where like lead gen meets with sales conversion. And that's where then the profitability comes in. Yeah.
Just to add on, right? So even in our model, we have already built it in there where we take platform fee. It's not an upfront, payment. So that's where the vendors, they know that when they make a sale, then we take a cut. So that means we need to make sure that they are well teed up, they are well represented, then we win together.
So everything is 100% sales-based. We need to say that without a transaction, you are literally letting them list on your platform for free.
There's a few pathways. So we do have the FOC pathway. But of course, we realize there are some of the vendors who really, they're very good at what they're doing, right? But they're not good with marketing. They're not good with online branding. So in our company, and this is how we survive in the past few years, right? We have an agency component. So in a way, we are running a startup and agency at the same time, right? So this startup develops a technology, the platform. The agency then develops, helps our vendors, partners, develop curated quality content that people can resonate, because we understand what the consumers want, because we are first consumers. And then when we then bring this content into the platform, that's where magic happens.
Which is more popular, the agency side or the platform side?
I would say in the beginning, for sure, agency side is more popular because it's chicken egg, right? So we'll bring in the supply first, we'll make sure all the contents are good. Then later, when the demand comes in, right, then the whole thing will flow. So right now, I would say most of our income still comes from the agency side, but closer to end of this year, when we do a proper marketing launch, with a very well-known local celebrity that's wearing yellow boots, right? Yeah, I'm sure you know who. Then that's where then the technology, the platform side will start to monetize a lot more. And then the agency side will slowly just become just a small side division in the company.
That means it's just meant to be there to support the vendors.
But you don't intend to kill the agency side of things, right?
I mean, right now we have no intention, but really, if let's say the technology side of things, the platform is generating so much revenue, and at the same time, we are so concentrating and focused on expansion to overseas. For sure, we will be eventually looking maybe even to outsource that agency model, so we won't be doing it in-house. So we'll be finding partners to help us do it. But for now, we're still doing it.
I think was it yesterday that the company announced that you guys are opening is it it's the first overseas office, right? In Perth.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I think our so-called 贵人 is still Block 71. So Block 71 brings along a lot of different people. So in Block 71, we met the Minister of Science and Innovation from Perth government. So at that time, we got to know each other. Then he and the team was like saying, hey, we got to go to Perth to take a look because they are really supporting the wellness industry. So then we just took the leap of faith. We just fly to Perth. And that's
5 hours away only.
And same time zone. Yeah. So then that's where we go and meet different people. Cedric will meet one group of people. I meet another group of people. And then we come together. Yeah. So very thankfully, we also met the Australian director. Yeah. Who then we cement the whole thing. Then we decided to incorporate a company there.
Naturally, I will need to ask, what is the difference between the Australian wellness market and in versus Singapore? Is it more fragmented over there? Your demographics are they more retirees, or how different is it?
Yeah, so I would say I'll take this opportunity to correct a common misconception. Most people think that Perth is just a sleepy mining town in Australia, right? Nothing to do there, go there retire one. Well, some part of it is true, many people don't know that Western Australia, which includes Perth, is one of Australia's wealthiest states.
Because of the mining industry there.
Yeah. So, and the way we see it, and just as kind of a pivot before going back to the main point, right, is the way we see Perth after visiting, we see Perth as like how Dubai was when Dubai wanted to diversify from oil money. Right. And you see, and the companies, the technologies, the innovation that goes into Dubai, earliest when they were trying to pivot, now they're very entrenched into the ecosystem. So we see a similar opportunity for Perth, because the Perth Australian government, you go there, right? They literally welcome us with like red carpet, right? And they give us like a lot of suggestions. They really work with us. We got like people from the government working with us, in the ground, like introducing us to their infrastructure. Right. And it's just so that they feel that if we can bring technology to Perth and then help their society, help their country actually upgrade their standard of living, their standard of healthcare, everything changes, right? So to what you just asked, Perth is a great gateway to the rest of Australia because it's a small market, about 2 million plus, but at the same time, the people there are very wealthy, but they also are very into wellness, much more than Singapore, to be honest. And Perth has a very good regulatory system as well. Their TGA is as strong, if not stronger, than FDA and HSA, which is the Singapore's regulatory system and the US regulatory system. And if we are able to go there and then we do clinical trials with which is also incident with our Australian partner, because he runs a series of clinics dealing with sports and with neurology in Perth, then to prove that, hey, DNA personalized solutions, it does work more effectively, then that is a game changer for us.
Okay. But correct me if I'm wrong, my information about you is that you don't currently own any DNA research facility, right? It is through providers that you provide the DNA testing. So with this research, is it a new route in Perth that you're trying to establish through the Perth director, whereby because he is a doctor, right? So he therefore is licensed to conduct trials, basically speaking. So is that a future thing that you're trying to go at, whereby, because I think in the platform business, and it doesn't, we don't even have to look at platform businesses, right? We can look at a traditional supermarket. Let's say here in Singapore, FairPrice, right? The reason why supermarkets have their own brands is such that they don't have to rely on suppliers too much for their business. So therefore, they have their own brands. So therefore, in one day, would you come up with your own brand or your own, whereby you can diversify, you still welcome providers, but you have your own little thing that is proprietary to you? Because right now, what is proprietary to you? It should be your algorithm, right?
Yeah, it's our technology, it's our AI. The way we incorporate multiple AI models into our whole framework, because every AI model actually does a different thing, that's proprietary to us. The way people upload their DNA tests, and we can accept all kinds of DNA test report, not just those that we carry, right? It's also proprietary to us. And of course, in the future, if we have all these data sets, there's obviously sanitized, de-identified, that we use that to train our LLM. That's also proprietary to us. So you're right to say that, yes, we don't own a DNA lab. We are not a DNA test company. But what we are is that we are actually a DNA test a company supporter or extender, so that when people do a DNA test, rather than just getting this information, they don't know what to do with it, we help them make use of the data points, consumer, and extend that and get matched to complementary wellness solutions. So we do the nurture part, but it's DNA personalized nurturing, so to speak. So yes, while we are not a DNA test company to support the clinical studies in Perth, but it's a technology that we've developed over the past few years that coming to it and bringing in a good DNA partner, right, from Asia to Perth, to then come together as a whole, working with the clinical establishments there to do a clinical trial.
So comparing setting up business in Singapore versus in Perth, is it equally easy?
Of course, just getting a CorpSec to set up a company, that's the easiest ever. But I think it's getting the right connections and getting the right backing, support, then it makes things easier. So in Singapore, when Cedric first started, of course, it's difficult because only him. Now we actually have a team, and we have also found this director in Australia, which we have great confidence in him. I think the future looks bright, but we still have to jump through hoops, right? But it's much easier now.
What is the one thing that is most difficult about hiring? How difficult is it to retain people these days? Because I've ever come across I have a friend who runs a marketing agency. He ran it for 16 years already. Till this day, he has employee number one. Went through all the ups and downs with him by running a marketing agency, right? And till this day, 16 years later, still with him. Retention. But yet, on the other hand, it's very difficult to retain people. So then what is your philosophy when it comes to number one, recruitment, number two, retention?
My philosophy of doing a startup is a bit different from, I would say, most other founders. The way I see building a company is much like building a village. Everyone have to do their own part. Some people we have to bring in to be a carpenter. Some people we have to bring in to be farmers, to farm the crops so we can all feed ourselves. Then in a way, like two of us, we're the village chief, right, so to speak. And because everyone comes in a role, right, everyone should have that same mindset and the same passion towards a larger mission. And that's why, in a way, we have no problems attracting people, but it's about finding the right people to join the team. They have the right talents, the right mindset, the right fit. They can go the distance is very important.
I think to add on, right, mindset is really the number one that we look for. Sometimes in questions, right, that we ask during interview, yes, we are testing for skill sets, but more towards, does the person have a growth mindset? Yeah, the last thing we want is to find someone with a fixed mindset. Then as the company grows, then they need to do different roles. But they thought that they were hired for this one specific role. Then that's not very good for a growing company. So mindset is one thing, like whether they are willing to learn new things. Yeah.
As if today, let's simulate an interview, right? I am applying to your company and I want to be your head of marketing. For example, and I can say, Cedric, I really am learning all the different AI tools today. I'm really trying to produce 30 different key visuals in 1 week, for example, with the press of a button. Does that convince you that I have a growth mindset? Because I also understand it's an intuitive thing, it's a gut feeling thing.
Gut feeling thing.
But I'm also trying to see whether I can tease out your gut feeling and articulate it out. Because it's very easy to say one. And yet it's also very expensive, right, to hire you and try to test you for 3 months. Because I have to retrain.
Yeah. So I'll say the pace of our company is actually quite high. The pace very fast, right? That's why, in one of the earlier LinkedIn posts, I put about 2 months back, we got people who left off after 3 days. Yeah, but overseas. So she said, cannot. Okay. Then she left. Now, of course, yes, some people, they are very good interview warriors, we call them, right? Or can say everything, right? But very quickly, right, the first week they start work, right, there's a sense to it already. Whether they are able to really demonstrate their level of competence based on what they say, rather they have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, already. And then the rest of the few weeks after that, right, it's just about proving that thesis. And if we deal with people long enough, then you have developed that sense of how everyone is, right? Then the rest is just their actions, and at the same time, what kind of outcomes do they create, speak for itself.
You really 100% stick to MBTI, as in all these psychometric assessments?
I don't say 100%, but it's a good starting point to get a little bit more data, because you can train for interview, but sometimes when it comes to personality and all that, it's not easy. Yeah, so that's why we're trying to get more data points, bring in the person, then let the person play the show.
Just to add on, right? We are DNA, so-called data company, right? So obviously we believe in data.
Yeah.
With genetic data and psychometric data, it's still data.
So whoever who wants to join their company need to bear in mind there are archetypes of individuals that they look out for. So people like me cannot join your company because I don't belong to any archetype, I think. I float here and there. I sometimes one day I am one day I'm the cloud, the other day I'm the river, that kind. I'm like that one. So but
This one must do a DNA test because DNA don't change. But archetypes on MBTI will change.
I want to because just now you mentioned that later part of the year you're launching a very big launch, a marketing campaign, right? So just now we talk about sales, we talk about that's the B2B element. I want to switch over to the B2C element. And I think it is I wouldn't be so wrong to say that maybe people don't really think they need a DNA test. Like, they will know that they need to go for medical checkup. But I think a lot of people also don't go for medical checkup these days. They just live and let live lah. Something happened, then something happened. I have my insurance, right? So it is a two-layer thing. It is really difficult to convince people to do yearly checkup. I think it's even more difficult to convince people to spend money to go and do DNA testing. So then how do you convince your consumer side of things, right? Because you can list as many sellers as you like on platform, but then where's your flow of customers, right? So how do you convince people that DNA testing is important?
Okay, so I'll say right now to this day, right, most of our businesses and revenue comes from word of mouth and direct. Now, because as a small startup, bootstrapping for all this time until we got our first pre-seed investment last year, it's about just doing what we can, right? So all this, of course, later it will scale. Now, but before I emphasize on how are we going to go to market, I think that's a question, go to market strategy, right? I must first clarify that our consumers, B2C, don't need to do a DNA test before they can take advantage of our technology. Because there's fundamentally two consumer pathways that people have, right? Or that we have. One is someone who just wants to look for a wellness solution that they perhaps cannot find on Google. So let's say they want to look for eczema, so-called cream, or they want to look for a life coach or a fitness trainer. They cannot find this on Google so far right now. They come to a platform, they find them. That's the pathway that don't need a DNA test, right? Then the other pathway are for people who have done a DNA test. And you'll be surprised to learn through our research, right, for this past few years, Judson, easily about 10% of the Singapore population has already done a DNA test. Because Circle DNA, being the Asia's largest DNA test provider, Singapore is the second largest market, the first being Hong Kong. Right. And then, of course, there are other brands that's also persistent in Singapore, including ours, right? Our partners' brands. So just that this, we call them their subculture. They're the hidden demographic. People don't know them. So we got 10% of the Singapore population who's working on with data like this. And by the way, you print out this DNA test report for one person if you print it out. No way they can use something like that. That's where then they upload into our platform. Our AI will ingest it, okay, in ways that ChatGPT cannot. Then after that, we will recommend products and solutions that is genetically relevant to them, right? So that's the second pathway. But of course, back to the first pathway, if they come in, if someone down the line, let's say they want to lose weight fast, and then they say they don't want to do the run-of-the-mill, the standard stuff, they want to do it DNA personalized weight loss. That's when later they can actually be encouraged to do a DNA test. And then there's all these data layers that consumers can take advantage of and vendors can take advantage of to come up with effective solutioning. So there are many verticals on there. Of course, the grand scheme of things, which is again back to your first question, is how do we get more people to understand the importance of DNA testing? That's where thought leadership, education, and creating an ecosystem of missionaries, of believers, not just from Connecting DNA, but from every wellness vendor partners that choose to walk the journey with us, creates that network effect, and slowly over time, there'll be a paradigm shift.
And this is why I asked whether you are keeping your agency side of things, because I think because thought leadership education requires a lot of content, and rather than my marketing friends, my agency friends will probably slap me, but rather than relying on agency, you should just keep it, right? Keep your own internal agency and then also lease it out as a agency as a service to serve your own marketing purposes, but also to serve your partners, right? So okay, understand. Actually, I think when you're describing this whole B2C stuff, I feel like you should actually work together with GovTech.
GovTech so big, we're scared leh.
Why scared? Eventually, you also be big one.
Yes, that's true.
And GovTech serves citizens, Singaporeans. I mean, also serves Singapore businesses. But that's another topic. But just a suggestion. Just one more thing. It just suddenly slipped my mind. If today you were to go back in time again, right, 4 years back, would you do it again? And more importantly, I think maybe I know Ee Ting's answer. But more importantly, if your child asks you, should I be an entrepreneur as my first job and my only job, how would you respond, given all the battle scars you have won?
If my child asks me whether should she be an entrepreneur for her first job, my answer will be no. Reason is because, take for example, entrepreneurship is like sailing a sampan in a big ship, in a big ocean. Okay, I want my daughter to see the world from a cruise ship first. the capability of a cruise ship, what the cruise ship has, how the cruise ship operates, and then where the cruise ship can have a goal, which is a very big goal. Then she, with all her knowledge that she learns, can start her sampan and start to grow it. Because that is different. When you start as a sampan, you think that you can only reach like Singapore to Pulau Ubin. But when you have a mindset in you that is a cruise ship mindset, and then you start rowing your sampan, likely your sampan can go all the way to Thailand or even further or even around the world.
So I have two boys. Okay. They both have different talents. Definitely my eldest is more entrepreneurial than my youngest one. If you ask me now, right, after going through what I went through, and Connecting Dini is my second startup. My first startup being a game development company.
I didn't know. Oh, yeah, yes.
Yeah. I would tell my son, first job, go and find a good company to join, right? But do part-time outside.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, I don't tell who my son is, then then next time no one will hire him already. But the reason for that is because if he he should then understand work politics. Because there's a lot of learning in work politics, right? But it's also under the safety of a very structured organization that he learns corporate governance. But at the same time, by then allowing him to actually go out there and do his own thing, right? He also is polishing up his skill set and his mindset for the bigger ocean out there. Like what Choo Ee Ting mentioned about the sampan and the cruise ship, right? And then once he's confident in that, that's where then I will encourage him to strike out his own. Probably, ideally, his third career. Yeah. And ideally, after 35 years old.
Wow. That totally contradicts what I thought you would say. Because we also have student entrepreneurs, like fresh grads who just graduated and then immediately started their own startup, right? But what you're saying is that by exposing yourself to corporate experience, you learn how to deal with people. Very important, right? Learn how to deal with rejections. Maybe 90% of people you approach are going to say no to you, and how it will not hurt your ego. But also the technicalities of it, how to do marketing, how to do sales, how to set up a website, all these things. There's no right and wrong. It's just that I didn't expect you to encourage them to go and work, because there is a trade-off. You are trading your youth.
Do you know there's a study that shows that children who are born from a family of entrepreneurs are more likely to become entrepreneurs themselves?
I heard of it, yes.
Yes, even after some of them, maybe they start up and to do they join companies. Later, somehow or other, the entrepreneurial bug will bite them and they'll do something on their own. Now, I do agree that yes, 20 plus years old, they definitely have more energy than we, we are in our 40s, right? But for sure, I think it has to be balanced off with wisdom and tenacity. And sometimes because when we're young, we're still learning. My fear for my child, and I can speak for everyone, is that if they don't know what they want in life early enough, and they just stumble into something because the world and society says they should do it, they have no backup plan. They may graduate with a degree, but if let's say they are not from this Ivy League school, or they never work for some big MNC, even let's say, for example, their first 2 startups fail, right? Then it will find very difficult for them to restart themselves again. But whereas, right, end of the day, if they take their time to not say enjoy a good life, but to train themselves, it's about training, right? Life, train themselves in the earlier age in a corporate environment, learn the politics, learn the nuances of human interaction, which is very different from out in the market. After then they learn it already, they start, their chance of success multiplies. And when that happens, even if they fail, right, they still have something to fall back on to go back to work. It's all about, because they only have one life, right? So it's about making the least risky bet.
My last question, and also got to do with this whole experience, right? How have you applied your experience in dealing with people when it comes to fundraising? Because it is totally normal, right, to approach many different investors and have maybe all of them say no. And so I think typically you will therefore oscillate between like a pendulum, right? Never mind, I just bootstrap lah. Never mind, but I need to raise. I need to bootstrap. I need to raise. And so when the drive to raise, now you're raising seed, right? Yeah. When you're in this stage, right? No amount of vitamin C can maintain the motivation. How do you convince yourself that another day is another money, and I need to meet as many investors as possible and convince them, and trying to have them on board with your mission of connecting DNA?
Okay, so I think the baseline is having a clear, just like the sampan like that lah. As long as we have a very clear goal that we want to achieve, then that's where it drives us. But then again, the skill set is where it fits in us. How do we talk to the investors? I would say that at the start, it was really very difficult. My first time going with Cedric to meet all the different investors, it's like asking for money is really very difficult at the early stage. For now, I feel that we are more confident because we have systems to actually show people. And then we have real clients that have benefited and even written like testimonials for us, even in LinkedIn and all that. So the confidence is there to bring us to the next step.
Of course, I'll say that not every business needs to raise money. If given a chance, if the business model allows for it, bootstrapping would probably be the best one for all business, right? Because you don't need to give up any control of the company long term. Even for our first investor, right? The very first one who believed in what we do, we spoke to her. She got to know us for a good 1 year before she put in her money with us.
It's more like we always tend to forget that people are watching us. We tend to forget who ABCD is at the side watching us. And we tend to be, it's very common for us to be fixated on performing for the person standing in front of us. But actually, when we have to be really 360 in everything we do, conduct, behavior, performance, results, and everything. Because one day, suddenly somebody will appear and then just, I want to invest in you, here's a check. It's like that. So, okay, one final question. After Perth, where?
So our plan is for sure, because we named the company Connecting DNA Global, right? So the whole point is to go global. For sure, we see Australia as a gateway to US. And then that's where then the more people will know about us, right? So we plan to go to US by second half of next year.
I wish you both good luck with that. Okay, so that's all we have today. Thank you, Ee Ting. Thank you, Cedric, for bringing your thoughts and wisdom to our show. And be sure to subscribe to our newsletter so that we can fight the algorithm and so that you can always see our latest content in your inbox. Until the next time, I'm Judson. See you next time. Bye-bye.